Welcome to my three thought video. I'm starting off in Leviticus chapter 16. In this way, he'll make atonement for the most holy place because of the uncleanness and rebellion of Israel, whatever their sins have been. And I just thought this was one of those verses that the phrase "whatever their sins have been," I thought was just an interesting phrase. It kind of caught my eye, and as I sort of thought about it and pondered and sort of meditated on it, it occurred to me that there's sin abides in us, right? I mean, if we were to invite God to search our hearts and see if there's any abiding corruption or abiding rebellion, I get the sense from this verse that there is, right? There is rebellion, there is corruption within us, and we can invite God to search our hearts, the scripture says, and see if there's anything in there. And one of the things that I've been wrestling with lately is the idea that if I am to say to God, search me and see if there's anything that, is unpleasing to you, rebellion or corruption, that he would be gracious and kind and generous and loving, and that it wouldn't be harsh or shameful or full of misery, but just a welcoming, hey buddy, it's sin and corruption, but I love you. Let's take a look at this. And I've been feeling this and thinking about this for a little while, and I just want to also say that I sense that this is a good way to understand the voice of God, the movement of God. To be able to hear God is a tricky, difficult thing to grasp. And one of them that I think is the easiest way is to say, search me. And then when you hear, you can say, okay, well, that's what he sounds like. He's generous, he's kind, he's soft, he's not harsh or overbearing. And then turning to Psalms. I was reading in Psalms 108, for the help of man is worthless. And his verse says, give us aid against the enemy, for the help of man is worthless. And I was thinking about it in the context, right? I mean, he's a king. He's thinking about the enemy. He's thinking about an army. And I thought, the help of man is worthless because it's fickle. It's changing. It's, you never know. It has self-interest, right? Your enemy might think, well, if we let them get beat up for a little while, that'll give us an advantage. Or maybe they're just late. Maybe they just can't come to the end. Or eventually, they might actually become an enemy. What we would consider an ally can switch on a moment's notice and turn into an enemy. And that's why the assistance of man is worthless. Can't be trusted. And then in Mark chapter 16, later Jesus appeared to the 11 as they were eating. He rebuked them for their lack of faith and their stubborn refusal to believe those who had seen him after he'd risen. There's another verse in here in the same chapter that I got, and it was when the ladies were at the tomb, and there was a messenger there said, tell the 11, tell the disciples that he's risen, right? This is a messenger, it's not Jesus, is tell the disciples that he's risen, and Peter. And this just touched me. Every time I read it this morning, it was just really touched me. And Peter, be sure and tell Peter, because he might be thinking he doesn't belong after his denial, but tell Peter. But then there's this spot right here where he rebukes the disciples because they didn't believe, right? They didn't believe the witnesses that had witnessed Jesus after he'd risen. He rebuked them harshly and for their stubborn refusal to believe the others. And I think this is a good warning for us, right? I mean, we need to trust one another. We need to believe that the attitudes and the reasoning of those around us are not embittered by their own self-interest, even though at times they may be. But Christ is calling us to be generous and trust our brothers in the faith. And that part of that trust is our trust in God, right? Our trust in knowing that those that we're with are God's people with us. That's all for today. We'll see you next time.